Welcome to another video. I'm Isabel, and on this channel it's all about traveling off the beaten path destinations and exploring other people's inspiring stories. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you stay tuned. Today, Anna and Chris invited me to their studio to share their unique experience cycling from Istanbul all across Europe to Germany. I'm very curious to know how this idea emerged to cycle all this way, 3,000 kilometers in 6 weeks.
Yeah, so I think it all started during Corona, right? In the first wave, 2020, we were like, okay, so where can we actually go on holiday? And Italy just opened, then Austria opened, and we were like, oh, is it maybe possible to cycle all the way down to Venice? Yeah. And that was our first tour, where we slowly got into the experience and actually found out what kind of equipment we needed, how our physical condition was doing the trip. And then the year after, we did Gothenburg to Stockholm. And the beauty about that was that you can legally camp anywhere, almost anywhere you like, with the Allemansrechten, the Jedermannsrecht in Germany. I don't know what's in English, but
everyone's right.
Everyone's right. Yeah. So you can stay anywhere, almost anywhere for a night, and you can use whatever the nature provides. So you can make a fire and stuff, as long as you leave it the way you found it. That's the basic thing. And we enjoyed that very much as well, because it gives you kind of a great connection with nature. And I think then it happened kind of at a party way after midnight, where I was like, okay, so the next one is going to be to another continent. And the beauty Istanbul was the closest thing where you can really start off on another continent. And we said, okay, would it be possible to cycle to Istanbul, right? And actually we did it the other way around for some reason. But that's how it all started.
How did you come up with the itinerary afterwards? Well, of course, you would start at your home and then cycle to your destination. But we thought that in that way, we can, with our limited time of 6 weeks, we can always take a train from Trieste and go as quickly as possible back home to Munich. Then we thought like, oh, what kind of countries we want to see? We want to see as many countries as possible. Also, we don't want to take the usual route, which would be along the Adria coast and then through the mountains of Greece. And we really wanted to see the Balkan Peninsula, because we didn't know a lot about the countries there, the culture there. Some cities we wanted to see, to stop there. We had to do some compromises because some of the capital cities were just too much off route, so it would have been too much a detour for cyclists. Yeah. And how did you get all this information to decide on roads?
Yeah. So obviously when the goal was set, we at least knew, okay, that's what we have to do. And then obviously we took some parts that we wanted to see. Yeah? For instance, I think I put Montenegro on the list, or Kosovo, so the route would have to go through there. I think she wanted to go to some places in Greece and in Croatia. So we basically fit the route. And I think we used Komoot, or a mix of Komoot and Google Maps, to see where it could go. Obviously, you would have to look out for good roads. You would have to look for places where you could stay overnight, maybe some camping sites here and there. But then also, where you have some infrastructure, some basic infrastructure you would need every now and then. Yeah. And once you fit the road, you slice it down into, and we said, I think, a little bit from experience, 80 kilometers, more or less, maybe 85, is a good average per day. Sometimes it's a bit more, sometimes it's a bit less. You also have to look out for the elevation. Obviously, you are a lot slower if you go up all the time, and you're a lot faster when you go down. And depending on the road, if you're cycling off-road, you're a bit slower. If you're cycling on a straight road, you're much faster. So all these things you have to factor in, and then see where are good spots in between. And then we came up with I would say with a set of stages, where we're like, okay, this is possible in the time that we set for ourselves, about 6 weeks. You do need some gap days in between. You have to factor that in. And as I said, 80 to 85 kilometers on average is a good benchmark. Then cycling 5 days, taking 2 days off, sometimes one, sometimes two, is also a good benchmark. And then we came up with the list. We came up with the kind of gap days we had, and that's what we did.
But I cannot imagine to cycle 80 kilometers per day. I mean, how was your fitness level and how did you prepare physically for this adventure?
Well, we cycle every week, almost every day, like you probably, to work and back. But then at the weekends, we go also to the mountains to do some mountain biking. And usually for preparing, we do like 1, 2, 3 longer trips, like over the weekend. We didn't prepare in a different way than we would do for a 2 weeks trip, actually.
What you do is, I think the 3 components, right? First is obviously your physical fitness. Second is obviously your equipment. And third is also the ability to then navigate around in your mindset. So if you start with a physical thing, and we said, we started slowly, right? You wouldn't get up and say, I do 3,000 kilometers tomorrow. But you would start with a small trip where you also have backup options, right? Munich, Venice, almost every day you can take a train or you can take public transport and stop right there. But it's also a good way to figure out in a smaller thing where your limits are. Right?
Sounds feasible.
And it also depends on your bicycle, probably.
That's what I wanted to ask. Which bicycle did you use and which bags did you take?
Yeah, so we are using mountain bikes. That's because we also like to do some tours off-road, on trails only. But it depends like how your route is going, which kind of streets you're using, and according to that you choose the bike, and then you can only choose what kind of bags and you can use, because according to the amount and the how big the bags are, you have to choose what you can take with you.
And what is essential? What do I need to take on such a cycling trip for 6 weeks?
I would say it's more essential to not take things than to take things, because your weight and your size, what you can take, is fairly limited, right? And that's something you learn over time, right? So when you do shorter trips, you probably take too much, and then you will, we never use this, right? So that's how it starts. And essentially, we had 2 bags each, right, on each side. So one is for the sports clothes, one is for the kind of civil clothes. And you do have to be prepared for everything. Simple as that. For the hot, for the cold, for the wet, for the dry, and for the nights and everything in between. Because anything can happen. Obviously, with the equipment, you need repair stuff, right? So you need tools, you need another tire, you need medicine, then the cooking kind of infrastructure. So we have a bit of everything. But fairly limited. And you will find out over time, maybe we hit it in the comments, what is essential for us. People have different definitions about it. But that's basically it. And that's also something you need to learn, what maps you use. Then obviously you have a pre-planned route, and all of a sudden you're somewhere there was supposed to be a bridge. Actually, the bridge is still there on the satellite image, but it's not there anymore, and you're somewhere on a lonely railroad, like in The Walking Dead. And it's like, okay, how do we get out of here? Do we go this way, that way? And these are just things and little challenges you need to get used to. And you shouldn't expect that everything goes as planned. So
for example, should I expect? Which dangers or which annoyances should I have in mind before starting such an adventure?
Well, I think the most annoying or also most dangerous thing was just the traffic and the recklessness of the drivers, not only drivers of cars, but also of heavier trucks and buses. They were overtaking us like really fast and really close. Until Slovenia, we had no separate cycleways or cycle lanes. So we always had to ride on the road, on the side of the road. Sometimes we rode more in the middle of the road to that they wouldn't overtake us when someone is coming like from the other side. But if you're not comfortable riding on the road already in Germany, where drivers are used to it, you wouldn't probably enjoy this kind of trip.
Yeah. Make sure they see you, right? So we always wore bright clothes, like I have yellow, she's green. Sometimes you have to go through tunnels or you're cycling in the evening and like in September, it's always the sunset already. Yeah?
I often hear of wild dogs in the Balkans that cause trouble.
That's the second thing. I mean, the first traffic, then nature. You're in nature, and wild dogs, wild animals. Not just dogs, right? You're also in bear territory on the Balkans, so you do have to mind for that. I'd say between Turkey and I think it's stopped like in Montenegro. At least once or twice a day, we would have an incident with wild dogs, and I'm super scared of dogs. I hate dogs. I don't know. I'm a cat person, so this was really horror for me. And we figured out eventually, I think in Sofia, we bought some pepper spray because we couldn't stand it anymore. Obviously, most of them want to just scare you away, but you're never sure. And so we bought pepper spray, and that's a good alternative. Obviously, you do have to get the rabies vaccination, right? And anything else that's recommended, just to be on the safe side. And then again, you're in bear country. Likelihood that you see them is low, but there are more and more incidents. So, I mean, the usual things, don't keep the food outside. If you spot a bear, walk back, make yourself bigger. And then if you have pepper spray, that's also one more measure to prevent any dangerous situations. And again, you're in nature, so you're susceptible to the weather as well, right? So you're out in the sky, learn how to read the sky, especially when you're in the mountains. Look ahead. Not just read the maps, but read the weather report, hear what's going on, to just be on the safe side and know what's there.
And I guess also trust your intuition a little.
Absolutely. Yeah.
1/3 of the nights, more or less, we camped wild. We slept outside of a camping site. And even though we met some of the neighbors or even the owners of the land, they were always really friendly and really open when we said we just want to stay for one night. So I think for a German, that's very unusual.
That was unusual, yeah.
Maybe that's one of the positive parts of cycling and traveling a bit slower than through planes and cars.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the reason why you do it, right? When you go through the countrysides of, let's say, Kosovo, Bosnia, Serbia, I mean, what's a picture that's in your head? I don't know. And this way, you get to remote places and you have the time to experience that. Obviously, you get in contact with the people, and all of them were super friendly. Yeah. Let's take Kosovo, for instance, because that was the height, the peak of friendliness I've ever experienced. And that's one of the best stories, right? We did stealth camping near a river because you're good to have some water to wash and cook or whatever, refill the water cans. And a guy came along with a torch. He was like, what you guys doing here? So we explained to him, and he was a cop of that village, right? He was the sheriff, and he was like, oh, all good. I'm just watching that there are no thieves around here because these houses get raided quite often because they're holiday homes of Kosovans that come back in summer. So we explained to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's super cool. You're German. Even better, because I was educated by Germans as a policeman. So you must be thirsty. Let me go to the shop and buy you some beer." And we're like, "No, you don't have to." It's like, "No, you're guest here, and then later it's our house over there. Come and we have a dinner together." Yeah, and that was fantastic. I mean, imagine here. They call the police and you get locked away, or in America they're going to shoot you or whatever. Yeah? That was super nice. And we had other incidents like that where we just camped, or the family invited us to camp on their grass. They cooked dinner for us. They cooked breakfast.
Use the toilet.
They gave us food for the way.
Welcoming.
Super welcoming, and that way you learn about their feelings and what they think, what their hopes for the future are. And that was really enjoyable because you would never hear that otherwise.
That's something you don't hear or see on TV. You can only experience it.
And it was so cute, always like the children. They were translating for the parents because most of the older people, they could not speak English, but the kids nowadays, they learn English in school.
Oh, perfect English.
And they had really good English, and it was so cute to see them, how they feel really confident because they could translate for the grown-ups. That was,
So they're super optimistic for the future. Yeah? And you can't say that of all the countries. Obviously, we saw a lot, and the cultural differences in that kind of short amount of time, they were super interesting. Obviously, it leads to tensions in that area as well. But it helps you to understand. It opens up your mind, which is the beauty of it. That was super cool.
Yeah, definitely. You need to travel and experience yourself how a country is set up, how the people live it, and
also the changes like of building, infrastructure, and of religion.
Yeah. And the nature as well, obviously. I mean, the mountains in Montenegro are beautiful, stunning. The coastlines in Croatia, the kind of vineyards in Slovenia, and the food along the way, obviously, is one of the greatest things ever. Fresh fish along Turkey, Greece, then meat, wine, and party and party island stop in Sicher beach where we had to stop involuntarily because the ferry didn't go because of winds. So season closing in Sicher beach.
Yeah, you really make me want to travel by cycle and experience the countries in a different way. And my takeaway is that if you get prepared a little, you cycle regularly or already try out with some shorter trips, it's definitely feasible, even for someone who is not a very, very sportive person. But I understood that it's really possible.
Yeah.
And
Again, and almost anybody could do that. Yeah, obviously you don't start with 3,000. You start with maybe 1,000 in 2 weeks, if even. Okay, we have to say we were lucky with the weather, but obviously there are some things, right? Tires break. Then you have this kind of plant in Greece that punctures your tires. And I think I had 13 stitches in one tire one day. So that was almost hopeless. But we found a good workaround and a trick. Maybe we tell that trick at some point. But you get comfortable changing tires. Then the tent broke at some point, so we had to fix that. And you learn to become a bit pragmatic with the little changes that are on challenges that are on the way. And that's what it's all about. I'd say it was not only a sportive holiday, but it was at the same time a kind of a wellness holiday because you come into this kind of rhythm. Actually, we are at a recording studio here, So you get up with the sun, you go to sleep with the sunset, and it's a very human, a very natural thing. And
more natural than what we are used to
in
our everyday life.
Yeah, it grounds you and you become so relaxed by the end of it. So I was like, I'm super easy. Nobody can stress me out. It changed it after some time.
It was actually really strange to be back in a big city and to get along with all this traffic and the stress here because we were always riding on one road. We didn't have to make too many decisions the day because, okay, we have to go here right, there left. No, but the day is always quite structured and it's not too complicated. And then you're back in the modern life and that was a bit hard, actually.
Yeah, maybe we're making things too crazy here. And the kind of simple life, back to basics, thinking pragmatically, finding a way around, is actually what really made it for us. And so what's next? I don't know. There are many places to discover, but it's one of the most beautiful things. I can recommend it to anyone to try it out, give it a try. Start easy, start slowly, but it's one of the most beautiful ways to travel.
I think you gave some great tips and recommendations, and you also pointed out a bit the dangers that you can have. Definitely feasible. And I hope maybe some of the people watching will want to do it as well and find it a bit less complicated now. And thanks anyways for sharing your experience. And
Thank you.
if you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions to Anna and Chris, put them in the comments, and we will try to help you prepare your adventure. And then I guess see you in the next time. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.